Welcome to the video. Finally, it's arrived, the Volkswagen ID.3. Let's have a look around what is VW's most important car since the Golf. We're at Frank Keane Volkswagen in Liffey Valley to take the ID.3 for a spin. This all-new EV replaces the e-Golf, which is now gone, and the ID.3 is the first ever purpose-built EV from the German brand. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our content with the latest new cars on the market. Let's get into the video and have a look around the ID.3 as it goes up against EV rivals like the Tesla Model 3, Kia e-Soul and Nissan Leaf. The key for the new ID.3 is the same as the one you get with the Golf. This particular spec is the first edition plus with a 58 kWh battery producing 204 brake horsepower and a decent range of 419 kilometers from a full charge. In Ireland, this car, after grants and VRT relief, is just a tad over €40,000, which is around the same as the equivalent spec of a Tesla Model 3. There will be more battery sizes added to the ID.3 range in the coming months, one with 330 kilometers of range and the other with an impressive 550 kilometers. Back to the car we have here, and the colour of this one is the optional Glacier White. I think it suits the ID.3 quite well. From the front end, the design has a hint of Volkswagen Up about it. The lights are matrix LEDs with a light strip connecting the two headlights. There's no grille needed, of course, as there's no engine. Upon closer inspection, you'll notice a honeycomb design on the lower bumper with an air intake below it. The parking sensors are also built in. Under the bonnet, you'll find a 2-litre TDI. Obviously not. Under here is the aircon unit, along with where you put the brake fluid, the coolant, the windscreen washer fluid, and you'll also find a 12-volt battery. This one being the Plus spec, you get these really nice looking 19-inch Andoya alloy wheels. You also get rear privacy glass. It's clear when you look at the side view that VW have made the ID.3 as aerodynamic as possible. The curves are clear to see, as the A-pillar is longer than you would usually find on a family hatchback, and you can see the way it curves up towards the roof. The dimensions are similar to that of the Golf, and the 58 kWh batteries lie below the floor of the car. The motor is at the rear, and we'll talk about how the ID.3 drives later in the video. Moving around to the rear, and the gloss black roof effect continues down onto the boot door. There are LED taillights that look like they were taken from the Golf, and you have Volkswagen's new logo along with the ID.3 badge below. Volkswagen haven't put any EV only or zero emission badges back here like you'd find on Nissan Leaf. Volkswagen are planning on people instantly recognizing the ID brand as an EV. To sum up the styling then, I think Volkswagen have created an exterior that is distinctive and modern without being too radical. We like it, but let us know in the comments below what you think of the new Volkswagen ID.3's design. To the boot, and the ID.3 has a decent amount of space back here. It comes in at 385 litres, which is a tad bigger than the Golf's. It has everything you need back here: a 12-volt socket, shopping bag hooks, tether points, and the charging cables can be stored below the boot floor. In the rear of the ID.3, it feels like a family hatchback, spacious and capable of carrying 4 adults comfortably. The fact that there's no transmission tunnel means that someone sitting in the middle should be reasonably comfortable. At 6'4", there was still enough room for me to sit behind my own driving position, and headroom wasn't bad either. Back here you'll find 2 USB-C ports, electric windows and decent sized door bins. There's also LED interior lights that are touch sensitive, and there's more storage pockets in the back of the front seats. The plastic on the upper part of the door doesn't feel as soft a touch as you may have come to expect on previous VWs, but in general the ID.3 still feels in many ways like a Volkswagen, well built. On the door you'll find leather-like material where you can rest your arm, and glossy black plastic surrounds the switch for the electric window. Now to the front, and there's no denying that it feels like a modern car. The floating touchscreen, digital driver's display, and lack of physical buttons means that the ID.3's cabin is about as up to date as you'll get. The driver's display shows you information in a simple manner, such as your speed, the adaptive cruise system, and your range. The leather-wrapped steering wheel has touch-sensitive buttons that aren't physical, but they do vibrate as you touch them. Again, there's a first edition badge placed at the bottom of the steering wheel. To the right of the display, and you'll find the drive selector. It's easy to use, and the parking brake button is placed on the side of the selector. A nice touch on the pedals are the play and pause buttons, just in case you get confused. This adds a little bit of character to the ID.3. Where you once would have found the ignition barrel for the key, it's now just the start-stop button. Press this and the car will turn on once the key is in the cabin. The button panel to control the lights and window demisters are familiar and taken straight from the new Golf. Glove box is a reasonable size, and the front cabin gets cup holders and storage bins, making use of the fact that there's no traditional gear stick needed. The piano black trim does look well, but it can attract fingerprints over time. If you slide back this cover, you'll reveal 2 more USB-C ports and more storage space. Both the driver and passenger seats get these individual armrests. They're quite comfortable to rest your arm on while driving. On the roof you'll find 2 more touch-sensitive LED interior lights and an SOS button. The sun visor has a mirror in it, along with another LED light. And the steering wheel can be manually adjusted with the lever on the side. There's also plenty of adjustment in the front seats, and it's easy enough to find a comfortable driving position. To the touchscreen, and this controls pretty much everything in the car. From your phone and media to the heated seats, fan and temperature speed are all built into this touchscreen. There are touchpads located just below the screen to adjust the temperature and media volume. Drive modes are selected within this system with a choice of Eco, Sport, Comfort or Individual. Each one adjusts the steering and throttle response accordingly. You can flick through the menus to display multiple details at once, such as navigation and media. These early ID.3s have got some of the touchscreen features disabled, such as Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but Volkswagen hopes to have a software update ready by year end that will be free to any customers that buy the early editions of the car. That update will then unlock the full functionality of the infotainment system. Any negatives? Well, for some, the lack of physical buttons may take some time to get used to, but you can use the voice commands by saying "Hey ID" and then say something like "I'm cold," and the car will adjust the heating accordingly, and you don't even have to take your eyes off the road. Physical controls are quickly becoming a thing of the past, with touchscreens being used by many mainstream manufacturers now to control the heating and radio with little physical dials. One of the ID.3's main rivals, the Tesla Model 3, only has a touchscreen with no physical buttons whatsoever. Behind the wheel of the ID.3, there's no engine noise, so it's much quieter compared to a petrol or diesel car. Even at speed, on the motorway for example, the ID.3 is a quiet and comfortable place to be. In traffic you can easily get up to speed quickly thanks to the torque that the electric motor has. The ID.3 is nippy off the mark and feels quite nimble and good fun to drive. In the corners, despite being a heavy car, Volkswagen have set the suspension up well to deal with this weight, meaning that body roll is not all that noticeable and the ID.3 feels composed and grippy in the corners. Coupled with the fact that it's rear wheel drive means that the ID.3 can be quite fun to drive if you put it into sport mode. The fact that it is rear wheel drive adds to the fun factor, and you get the feeling of being pushed through the corners rather than being pulled through like you would in a front wheel drive car. In comfort mode, the steering feels lighter and throttle response is slower. Sport mode results in the opposite effects to comfort, and eco mode dials everything down to conserve energy. Behind the wheel of the ID.3 then is quite pleasant, with good all-round visibility and a nice balance between being comfortable and being fun to drive. This one has the 58 kWh battery with 204 brake horsepower and around 310 Newton meters of torque. VW are giving a 160,000 kilometer or 8-year battery warranty, whichever comes first. In terms of charging speed, the ID.3 has the ability to charge at up to 100 kilowatts at a fast charger. At a 7 kilowatt home charger will charge from empty to full in around 7 hours. To sum up, the ID.3 is a decent car. At the end of the day, it's an electric version of the Golf. It's a spacious, comfortable family EV that can be fun when you want it to be and has a decent usable battery range. Yes, you could get a Golf for 10 grand less, but we know that EVs are more expensive than petrols or diesels. But it should prove to be cheaper to run over the long term versus a petrol or diesel car. If you are in the market for an EV, the ID.3 is a strong contender. It's ready to take on Tesla, Renault, Nissan and the growing number of new EVs set to join the market over the next while. The Volkswagen Group as a whole also have some exciting new EVs due to hit the market with offerings from Seat, Skoda and Audi being added to the group's growing number of electrified models. Thanks for watching this review of the ID.3. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future videos, and leave a comment below if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for watching Deck of Cars.